All right, what's up, co-counsels? We have Ali up in here. Listen, I have Karen Reed fatigue. I'm over Karen Reed. I was over Karen Reed, 2 or 3 weeks ago. I'm definitely over her now, but a lot of people are still interested in this trial. So let's get into it. Callie literally sent me, I think this is a link she sent me, right? She sent me an interview that believe it was the four person. I don't want to say four man, it might be a four woman. Okay. Let us get into this stuff though. I think this is the last time I'm talking about Carrie because I'm exhausted. I'm done with Carrie. But let's get into it.
New reaction to the Karen Reed trial. Public perception still mixed. Nearly a week after she left court, a free woman acquitted of killing her Boston police officer boyfriend.
This morning, the special prosecutors breaking his silence, and now the jury foreman.
Right, I've watched, I think it was Court TV. What's up, Benji? I believe Court TV interviewed Karen Reed's not her loved ones. I'm sorry. I believe Court TV interviewed John O'Keefe's loved one. So we're gonna get into that. Hank Brennan put out the statement. He told people are gonna get locked up. He said they're gonna get shot if they go around there trying to mess with him and his law practice. I did not actually read the actual statement, but it was recommended to me. The algorithm has found me, okay? But I'm definitely, I'm tired of this Karen Reed trial. So we talk about it this one time and we put this case to rest, okay? We put this case to rest and then we're going to move on to Brian Kohlberger. All right. What's up, Ali? Ali was early. I hope, Ali, Benji, I hope you guys had a good week. My plan was today, I was going to pre-record some videos for you guys, but I started doing laundry. I had to do laundry, though. I had to do laundry. I still have to get my laundry out of the dryer. I hope I don't forget. Alexa, remind me laundry in 1.5 hours. So, yeah, hopefully you guys had a good start. Alexa, stop. Hopefully you guys had a good start to... I got distracted. Alexa, stop. I got distracted because I just had a work email coming right now, but it's a good one. What's up, Callie? Callie, I know I said I'm done. I really did not want to watch this interview, but I think this is the interview that you sent to me. So we're here. Okay, here's one thing. Before we get into this whatever, the interviews. If you guys remember, December of 2024, I had a deposition. I defended a deposition. And I said over and over again, I did not understand why they had a partner out of Boston on a case that was, I think it was like, not even, I know. The policy limits of that case was $100,000. $100,000 is a lot of money, okay? But I did not understand why they had an actual partner from a very large law firm on that case, okay? And that bothered me for quite some time. Well, I finally have my answer. Callie, I'm going to send you a long voice note, but I finally have my answer. So it was revealed that, or I was talking to an adjuster, an insurance adjuster called me to discuss potential negotiation or settlement of the claim. And it turns out that this claim is not the claim itself. I don't want to over explain, but let me give you guys a lesson. So, on top of regular car insurance, if you have a vehicle you drive, hopefully you have car insurance, or at least you have a parent's car insurance or somebody's car insurance, but hopefully you're not driving a vehicle with zero insurance, okay? On top of that, a lot of people have what is called umbrella policies. So umbrella policies, these are usually taken out by people that have a significant let me not say significant. They're taken out by people that want to protect their assets. Okay. It's typically somebody that has a home and has other things going on, maybe even a business owner. Okay. So they take out more insurance on top of their homeowner's insurance, on top of their car insurance. So it turns out that this individual, the tortfeasor, that's what you call the wrongdoer in a car crash or in a civil case, the tortfeasor, the wrongdoer, it turns out that they had a $3 million umbrella policy. So that's the reason why they actually had a partner on the claim, because even though they did not tell us that this individual actually had a lot more liability coverage, it turns out that's the reason. So I know I was not goddamn crazy when I was questioning why they put a partner on what appeared to be a mid case. So anyways, this is a lesson to me to not trust defense attorneys and to not trust insurance carriers. Okay, because again, that attorney was actually really nice, probably one of the nicest defense attorneys I have worked against. And even though he was that nice, they were hiding a whole lot of stuff. Anyways, let's let us get into this. You guys know I can talk.
And is about to share what it was like leading the deliberations in his
This man made himself a foreperson.
first live interview. We'll speak with him in a moment. But first, a look at the latest on the case.
No, I don't.
It's been almost a week of second since that statement and his family pointed prosecutor accident.
Okay.
A week since Karen Reed's fate was sealed.
Defendant not guilty or guilty? Not guilty. So say you, Mr. Foreman? So say you all?
Yes. The jury clearing Reed of second-degree murder, manslaughter, and leaving the scene of a deadly accident. And for the first time since that acquittal, Special Prosecutor Hank Brennan ending his silence, saying in a statement, "I am disappointed in the verdict and the fact that we could not achieve justice for John O'Keefe and his family." Continuing, "After an independent and thorough review of all of the evidence, I concluded that the evidence led to one person and only one person." Prosecutors had alleged that Karen Reed backed her SUV into O'Keefe in a drunken rage while dropping him off at an after party following.
If you guys remember, I believe I had, Callie, those people can never be trusted. Never, never be trusted. Regardless of how nice and courteous they appear, they're trying to screw me and my client over. But if you guys remember, I believe this must have been around April, because I think April, that's when we had Real Thing back, okay? And I remember being on a live with Real Thing, and I specifically said, if I was the prosecutor in this Karen Reed case, I would have waited to retry. I would not have tried this case immediately because of a lot of the buzz and pretrial publicity that was surrounding this case. But I also recognize that the reason why they probably decided to try this case is because John's parents are aging and they probably wanted to give them some form of closure before they passed. So yeah, that's those are my two.
Following a night of bar hopping back in January 2022, calling dozens of witnesses to the stand from people at the scene.
They have Mr. Burgess. What
did she say to you? I hit him.
To crash reconstruction experts. But Reed's lawyers claimed she was framed in a law enforcement cover-up.
And again, I've said this before. The reason why the defense went on this press run is so they could influence potential jurors. I'm not claiming, okay, I don't know that. I don't know that the jurors in this case were, what is this? I don't want to claim that they were influenced by the interviews, but I did have my spidey senses were going off when about 80 to 90% of potential jurors disclosed to having known about this trial and A lot of them claiming that they had not formed an opinion. To me, that is just, I don't know, that did not sound quite right.
Pattern injury that you see on Mr. O'Keefe's right arm is consistent with an animal bite or claw marks.
Yes, it is.
It turned into a battle of the experts.
Okay, one more thing. I know you guys, I go back and forth. Here's the other thing, though. Diddy rested today. I'd really stopped keeping up with that trial around the time when I'd be waking up early to cover the trial. But apparently the defense did not call anybody in that Diddy trial. And I don't know what to make of that, okay? Because from a defense perspective, even though you don't bear the burden of proof, it helps your client to put somebody on the stand, okay? Put an ASAP 12V, put somebody on the goddamn stand, put Dr. Russell on the stand, put anybody, put a grandmother, put somebody on the stand. So I don't know what to make of that. And I suppose the defense in the Diddy trial probably believes that the prosecution cannot prove its case beyond a reasonable doubt. That's a risk for attorneys that are not going to prison with their clients. And I mean, some people are like, so what? It's Diddy, he can go to prison. So that's probably how some people view the case. But from a defense perspective, I think it's a mistake for the attorneys not to have put somebody on as, listen, go get an expert. Go get somebody, go get Mr. Burgess, put somebody on the stand. Those are my 2 cents. But let's see. I think Diddy, I think they'll have a verdict by next week, and we'll find out then.
Neither of the events that occurred on that date were triggered by a collision.
And although Reed did not take the stand herself, the prosecution tried to use her own words to build a case against her.
Didn't I say, could I have hit him? Or was it told to me that I said I hit him?
At the end, the jury felt there was not enough evidence to prove beyond a reasonable doubt that Reed.
Yeah, Ali, I heard that as well. I think I heard it last night because I watched, I don't know, one of these programs. I don't know which program, but one of these programs, the one where they usually have a black guy that plays the role of a defense attorney, and a woman. I don't know that she's black. She might be Latina. I don't know. And she usually plays the role of the prosecutor. You guys probably don't even know what show. I also don't know what show I'm talking about because I watched it last night. And they pretty much said that Diddy's defense would not be calling anybody. Apparently, there's certain pieces of evidence, pretty much business records, that they wanted to introduce. I don't know. That's risky. That's risky to me. It's just that's not how I would have done it, and especially considering that they're representing somebody that actually has money and somebody that could have called any Dr. Russell they ever wanted in all of America. Shoot, they could have flown somebody from Paris the way the ASAP Rocky people did. They could have called somebody from Paris. They could have put anybody on the stand. But from a defense perspective, it helps to put on somebody that will counter what the prosecution is saying. And the reason for that is, again, usually it's difficult for 12 minds to come to a consensus, for 12 minds to meet. And if they don't have anything to counter what the prosecution is saying, it becomes it becomes easy for 12 people to come to an agreement.
He did it and convicted her only of driving under the influence.
Okay.
And we're joined now by the jury foreman in the retrial, also known as juror number 1. And sir, you've asked us and we've agreed to keep your name private for confidentiality.
Sir, your face is on the internet. Your face is on the internet. Somebody, listen, with all AI, unless he just has no social media, is not on LinkedIn, somebody's going to screenshot this name and this face, and we're going to find out about him. What's up, Brooklyn? Ali said the defense should have called anyone as a character witness because his character from the feds didn't make his character look the slightest like the slightest bit like a human. IDK, I don't know. They should have put somebody on. But listen, they could have put his son. Maybe the son's not a good idea because the sons could be questioned about their own conduct. They could have put his mammy, his granddaddy, put somebody on the stand. Kylie says, for Diddy, I thought they would call a psychologist that and build on the potential CPTSD for losing his dad early on. I also considered the possibility of them putting on an expert. I, again, I don't know. Maybe they just believe. Maybe they just believe that. Maybe they believe the prosecution cannot prove its case. Maybe, right? But then the other thing is maybe they know they can get a pardon. I don't know. You guys cannot take me seriously. I don't know. Their conduct does not make sense, though. What's up, Brooklyn? How are you doing? And Callie says, yeah, some TikTok investigator, they're going to expose him. I don't know why he got up here. He should have put a hood on or something.
Reality reason. So with that, we say good morning. And can you just explain, take us into this jury room and how the jury came to the conclusion it did?
Okay.
Collectively together, we looked at all the evidence that we was presented with, and we made our decision off of that.
I don't know. Why does it look like he doesn't want to be up here? Isn't he the one that called the Today Show?
At first, some had their own personal opinions.
Is this Today Show? I don't know who's this. Oh, it is.
On what the case should be or whatever, and was trying to go down like a personal feelings and stuff like that, and we had to stick to what evidence we had in front of us and go with that. So it was more or less just trying to figure out that part, and it took us a couple of days to really get the gears going, but when we did, it was smooth trails after that.
Right.
Sir, to that point, the evidence, was there a singular piece of evidence that seemed to move the majority of the jurors in the room, or were there multiple pieces?
It just was. It was the whole case altogether, all the pieces, testimony, witnesses, and it just a lot together. And people had questions. We used the evidence to answer their questions, and we didn't try to go down these rabbit holes where we're just getting lost in what all these other things that was thrown at us in court or whatever, and we just had to lock down and figure it out through the evidence.
So I asked one of your other fellow jurors this question. It's a very fine distinction. In your opinion, is Karen Reed innocent? She didn't do this? Or is it just that the prosecutors did not put on enough evidence to convict?
Her dress is too bright. I don't like yellow.
Karen Reed is innocent, and she didn't do this crime. No one could prove that she did this crime. So I looked at her from day one as an innocent woman that needed to be proven guilty. And I don't think any of that was shown in this process.
Sir, to that point, if she didn't do it, who did?
That's not for the juror to decide.
That's not my job.
Exactly.
So, I mean,
that's not for the jury to decide.
Something did happen to Mr. O'Keefe, and it's foul play or whatever you want to say, but there was no evidence to even through multiple witnesses and testimony by his autopsy and everything. It was still no one said to solid evidence that there was a collision or he got hit by a car.
So you don't think she actually hit him
everybody.
You don't think she hit him with the car at all?
No, go ahead.
You don't think she hit him with the car at all?
No, I don't.
Okay.
Not with the evidence that was put in front of me and what we.
I don't know, why is he puzzled?
What we heard over everything? No, I don't.
Were you aware of just how high profile this case was? There were throngs of people outside in front of the courthouse. I know the jury officers, kept you away from that, but there was a big scream at the end.
Whatever his name is, he's skeptical. I don't know his name, frankly. This is not the news that I watch.
The verdict was read. That was audible in the courtroom. How much did you know about that, and how much, if anything, did that have to do with your process, your deliberations?
I was just going to go with whatever evidence showed us. If it was finding her guilty or finding her not guilty. And we were just going to go with the evidence. And at the end of the day, when I came in on Monday, I established to everyone, I just want everyone to feel like they're heard 100%, their thoughts, their process is.
This was a good jury of this individual, this 4-person. Usually the 4-person tends to be somebody with a stronger personality and an individual that can reel everybody else in. So again, we talked about people that are skeptical of law enforcement. So this, to me, I don't know this man personally, but to me, he appears to be the type of jury you'd want as a criminal defendant, because if we're going by stereotypes, he would be the individual that is actually skeptical of law enforcement.
Is being heard also in that process. And everyone felt at the end of the deliberations that everyone felt
what was in the envelope
about the decision that we all collectively came together
envelope?
With. So
in the end, there is still a mother who lost her son, Officer O'Keefe. What do you think justice would look like for the
This man thinks Karen Reed did it.
O'Keefe family?
Someone looking into it further, but looking into it further with the evidence that you already have, and then you finally find a possible person.
So Ali said, we're switching back and forth between cases. Ali said the feds destroyed Diddy's character with the evidence and witnesses like his character can never be repaired. Well, I don't know. I did not really follow that Diddy trial. So you know, Ali. I don't know. I think I stopped a month ago or so. Brooklyn said whoever was the jury advisor made an amazing job. Did they have a jury advisor? I don't know that it's more so as far as jury selection. I maintain that it's the pre-trial publicity from Karen Reed's team. That's where I'm putting what is this? I'm not going to say credit. That would be incorrect. But I think it was that move that was beneficial to Karen Reed. Callie said that presenter is all of us that know she did it. Yeah, that guy, he's not trying to let up. I don't know his name. Again, I don't watch the Today Show. The only person I do know some people. I don't know him though. He probably played, I don't know. I was going to say he probably played in the NFL, but I don't know that.
There's going to be the same complications of.
I think Michael Strahan or something. Isn't this his show? I don't know. Let's move on.
Of all this other stipulations of the evidence and everything else to go along with it. So it's just hard. And to put a mother through that.
Okay. Before I forget. So we know that the civil trial against Karen Reed is coming. Okay. For civil cases, again, that burden is much lesser, okay? Or it's lower. The burden of proof is much lower in a civil case. And civil cases are forgiving, okay? The reason I say that is because prior to civil practice, I strictly had experience in criminal law, okay? Both as a prosecutor and a public defender. And that standard is freaking high, okay? When I was a prosecutor, instantly I could notice holes. I could pick out reasonable doubt from a mile away, okay? And sometimes you could fix the whole, other times you could not. But when I switch over to civil cases, I often notice, or at least in the very beginning, I tended to be more fixated on what could potentially be characterized as reasonable doubt in a criminal case. But in civil cases, my principle would be like, so what? Because for the most, with civil cases, you don't need a perfect case. All you need is 51%, whereas the defendant can be, what is this? Can have 49%, or they can prove up their case or create some doubt to a percentage of, I don't know, 49, and you still win as long as you can prove up 51%. Hopefully that analogy makes sense, but that is in fact the case. It's a much lower standard.
And a father and a brother and the whole family through that again is let's
go back.
It's implications of someone looking into it further, but looking into it further with the evidence that you already have, and then you finally find a possible person, there's going to be the same complications of all this other stipulations of the evidence and everything else to go along with it. So it's just hard. And to put a mother through that, and a father and a brother and a whole family through that again it's a lot. Even me being there for 8 weeks and 9, and just sitting and watching the videos and seeing the tape and everything.
I don't know what to make of that statement about putting the mother and father and brother, whatever it is, through this again. There's a part of me that senses that the foreperson wanted finality, and I don't know. I don't want to be hung up on those words, but I do question if we have to go back to his statement about how they had to reel people in from going down rabbit holes. Did they? I mean, they obviously knew that this was a retrial. So I wonder if there was some form of motivation to not have, for the families not to have to go through this again.
It's a lot to see your loved one go through that. So
yes.
It's a lot for the jurors as well. It's a community service that people as citizens are asked to do. And as a foreman in particular.
I know he's not convinced. He's not convinced. I don't know. Whatever his name is, he's looking back and forth.
No one gives you a manual and tells you how to deliberate. So thank you for your service. Thank you for being here, Mr. Foreman. We appreciate it.
Hey, thanks for.
All right. Okay, there's Al. At least I know one person. I don't know the other people, but all right, let us see. Okay. I don't know. Let's move on to Core TV. Core TV, I have a love-hate relationship with Core TV, but let's get into Core TV.
Brutal murders.
I think I saw a video. Hold on, I'm getting distracted for sure. I'm getting distracted. Stay on track. Let's just see. Stay on track. Do we want to do TMZ? I'm not sure. I'm not sure that When was this verdict? Was it really 4 days ago? I don't know. Let's get it. Let's see, am I missing anything? All right, so Allie says that if you're just coming in, popping in quick, please make sure to hit up that like, subscribe, and then you guys are appreciated.
Prove
Okay?
there was a collision and she was responsible for John's death.
Tonight, a juror tells WBZ she is confident in her decision to free Karen Reed. Good evening and thanks for joining us. I'm David Wade. There was immense pressure on each and every juror to reach a verdict in one of the most closely scrutinized cases in recent memory. And tonight, one of those jurors is revealing how she decided on not guilty. She just spoke to Tammy Mutasa, and Tammy, this juror, says that she changed her mind as the trial went along.
Yeah, David, tonight, Paula Prado says it was a very emotional and intense week. She actually left the courthouse crying yesterday because she said she felt on one hand, she felt like Karen Reed got justice, but on the other hand, she felt horrible for John O'Keefe and his family and wants him to get justice too.
I was happy for Karen Reed and her family. Of course, I think justice was served, but see John O'Keefe's family leaving the courthouse was melt my heart. I'm a mother and I saw her pain through all those days.
Paula Prado is recounting the gravity and emotions of being one of the 12 jurors in the high-profile Karen Reed retrial. It's one day after the jury acquitted Reed on her most serious charges in the death of John O'Keefe, her Boston police officer boyfriend.
I mean, I just want to tell them it's not our fault that Karen Reed is not convicted, even if...
Wait, she said what?
Most serious charges in the death of John O'Keefe, her Boston police officer boyfriend.
I mean, I just want to tell them it's not our fault that Karen Reed is not convicted, even if there's any chance she's guilty of something, of hurt him somehow. The Commonwealth...
I don't know.
Also, and the investigators didn't do their jobs to prove that to us.
Prado is a lawyer from Brazil. She says part of why
they put a lawyer on there. I don't know. I don't know about that one, but okay.
Why the jury reached their verdict was because of the poor police investigation, saying there were too many inconsistencies and not enough evidence that a crash actually happened.
At first, for me, I thought Karen Reed was actually maybe guilty of manslaughter in the beginning, but as the weeks passed by, I just realized there was too many holes that we couldn't fill, and there's nothing that put her...
They definitely, Proctor, again, I said from the beginning, I don't know how on earth they were going to. Michael Proctor's just he tainted everything. But here's the other thing, though. The defense did not go with that third-party culprit defense, and from the beginning, I've always said that was a stupid defense. Okay, that was a stupid defense when you have Michael Proctor that you can lean on for everything.
Her on the
investigation was definitely shot.
In our opinion, besides just drop John O'Keefe off, and the taillight, the injuries in his arm didn't make much sense that come from the taillight for us. The last witness, Arca, from the defense, that made clear, they did a very good job. We couldn't prove there was a collision and she was responsible for John's death.
I know Diddy's lawyers, hopefully somebody was paying attention here because they need to put somebody on the stand. Anybody.
She now hopes the amount of pressure and attention given to Reed's case will be put into getting accountability for John O'Keefe.
And I really, really hope there is a way for the case to be reopened and they can investigate again and find who actually did that to John.
Girl, please. I thought you were a lawyer. That's not how it works.
Now, after deliberating for 22 hours.
In theory, even if, let's say, it was somebody else, I'm not going to put out names out here. Let's say it was actually a John Doe, somebody that, I guess saw Karen drop off John O'Keefe, and there's actually there is there was a suspected serial killer around New England. I don't know if it died down, but there was something like that going around. But I think the victims were women, so I don't know. Anyways, so if some random person jumped out of the bushes with a coyote that scratched up John O'Keefe and that's how the man died or whatever. Let's say later on this comes to the fore. That trial would not lead to anything. That trial would not lead to a conviction because The only thing the defense has to show is that they pinned, or let me not say pinned. The only thing the defense in that case would have to show is that Karen Reed was tried twice for allegedly causing the death of John O'Keefe. So I don't know about reopening and trying to find somebody else. That's not going to do the prosecution any good.
Paula says she 100% stands by her decision. I asked her if the crowds out here added to that pressure, and she said she actually didn't even realize how big the crowds were, and the room that they were working in was actually covered, so they didn't really see what was going on outside. So all they did was really focus on the evidence that was presented to them.
Okay. All right, let's move on. There was a Court TV. I know that I saw Court TV. Hold on. What are we doing? Okay, I think it's Court TV John O'Keefe. I saw something along those lines. I don't think I made that up. There we go. Yeah, and I knew I didn't. Kelly, Diddy definitely needs a Dr. Russell. There's no way. I don't know. Again, I've not followed the trial, so I don't exactly know what was presented and what was not presented. From other people's accounts, folks have said that the prosecution did not prove the first two charges. The RICO, the second one I don't remember, and the third one is the trafficking. They think he potentially could get convicted on the third count. A lot of people have talked about how the prosecution has not proved anything on the second count or the first two counts. Even if that's the case, the defense should have put somebody up there. Okay. Ali says, I think at this point Diddy needs definitely needs a whole bunch of Dr. Russells. Here's the thing. The jury makeup in Diddy could make a difference, okay? Because my man and I were just talking about this before I came up here. And I think that in order for Diddy to find people that can somewhat excuse his behavior or his conduct, I'm saying this in light of him claiming that it was all consensual. Okay, I'm not saying this assuming that he's guilty or that he should be convicted. Okay, but Diddy should have as far as the jury makeup, he's going to fare better with a jury that is primarily made up of people that actually have money, okay? Wealthy people. Because regular schmegular people like us, we cannot relate to that. He needs people with real money. And the reason I say this is because I think it was, let me find this man's name. Let me find the name and then I'll make my point.
I'm Vinny Politan. The subject of my investigation is the death of Boston police officer John O'Keefe and the high-profile acquittal of his girlfriend, Karen Reed. Karen Reed will walk free, but there are still a lot of lingering questions connected to this divisive drama. Here's the story. Boston police officer John O'Keefe lived a life of quiet heroism. A 16-year veteran of the force, he was known for his dedication to justice, kindness, and unwavering loyalty to his family. After the tragic passing of his sister, John stepped up selflessly to raise her two young children, becoming both father and uncle, protector and provider. He balanced the weight of the badge with the tender duties of parenthood, never missing a school play or a bedtime story. Friends and colleagues remember him as the kind of man who would never hesitate to help, always putting others first. But in
there we go. I just had to get the name right. I had to get the name right before I'm out here spewing falsehoods, okay? Benji said he's at work. That's all right, Benji. That's all right. Get that shmoney. Get that shmoney, Benji. All right. So the reason why I'm saying that, let me close this door. She's asleep, but let me close this door because I'm so loud. I'm so loud and I'm about to say some stuff here. Okay. So if we're jumping back into Diddy, again, we've talked about how much of a difference a jury composition can mean to a trial. Okay. So for the Diddy trial, this is an individual with some real money. Okay. Some real money. So obviously he has a different lifestyle. He can have, I don't know, 6,000 girlfriends. He can have 3 girlfriends at a time, 4 girlfriends at a time. And he can also have a Carisha on the side while he's doing whatever it is that he needs to do. Okay. So that said, for Diddy to be acquitted. Okay. Again, I'm not saying I want the man acquitted or I want the man convicted, but this is my opinion. Or let's think about it from I'm standby counsel. Okay. I'm standby counsel. So let's think about this from a defense perspective. The type of jurors that Diddy would need in order to secure an acquittal, he needs people that can somewhat relate to his world, people that can somewhat excuse his conduct. Okay. The people that can relate to freak offs and things of that nature, people with money, primarily men with money, but also women with money. Somebody like a Giselle, whatever her name is. No, Ghislaine, actually. Ghislaine, that's her name. Ghislaine Maxwell, somebody along those lines. But the reason I bring this up is because Dr. J. Vamar, I'm butchering the man's name. I think it's Vamar, or maybe it's, I don't know. I think he's of Indian descent. I could be mistaken, but it's spelled Varma. Okay. This individual, again, he's a doctor, so we can assume that he has some type of money. Okay. But it's not just the fact that he's a doctor. He was also once upon a time appointed to be a COVID czar in New York City. Once upon a time during COVID, when that was when it was still prevalent. Okay. In any event, the reason I bring this up is because this man was eventually fired. I believe it was last year. It was revealed that during the pandemic, at the height of the pandemic, when people were required to, avoid public gatherings, when people had to, I don't want to say isolate, but when people had to, stay at home and not go out in places. This man apparently was attending sex parties with his wife. Okay. That's why I'm saying for Diddy, this is New York City. Okay. So for Diddy to secure an acquittal, he needs the doctors and the folks that do these types of things to be on the jury, because a regular individual, I mean, people without money, we folks that don't have that kind of money cannot relate to Diddy's world. But apparently, people that live a certain lifestyle in New York City, circumstances are very different for them. Okay. But this individual, he was just saying that he should not be publicly shamed for his pandemic sex parties. That's literally one of the titles of who actually published this. I think that was Yahoo or somebody. In any event, let us move on from Diddy. We might circle back to Diddy, but let's move on from now.
January of 2022, tragedy struck. After a night out, John O'Keefe was found unresponsive in the snow outside a home in Canton. What followed was a swirl of mystery, suspicion, and heartbreak. His death not only shattered his loved ones, it ignited a firestorm of controversy that would shake the foundations of law enforcement and justice.
If we have any other interviews, please let me know. But I had not watched this. I just remember seeing it recommended.
In Massachusetts, the woman accused of his murder was found not guilty by the jury, leaving the question of what happened to John O'Keefe unanswered. When the verdict is not guilty, that means no one was found guilty beyond a reasonable doubt. And that's our standard of proof for a jury to come back and tell us what happened, come back and tell us the truth, to deliver justice. Didn't happen in this case. What happened was a not guilty verdict. And the not guilty verdict doesn't really answer a lot of questions necessarily. But in this case, in the case of Karen Reed, it created quite a reaction. You saw it here on Court TV. I was in the middle of it all. Take a look.
Not guilty or guilty? So say you, Mr. Foreman. So say you are.
Could not be standing here without these amazing supporters who have supported me and my team financially and, more importantly, emotionally for almost 4 years. And the second thing I want to say is no one has fought harder for justice for John O'Keefe than I have and my team. Thank you.
So I was stationed outside of the courthouse in the middle of all those folks. I got to know them and I understand what their reaction is to all of this. They felt it was an injustice. They felt like Karen Reed was falsely accused.
Okay.
That's that side of the story. There's two sides to every trial that we cover on Court TV. There's the accused, that was Karen Reed in this case, and then there's the prosecution representing the state, the Commonwealth, the people, but also really representing the victims in the case. And the victims in a case where you are alleging murder, where someone died, the victims are those who loved John O'Keefe. And that brings me to the first question in our investigation tonight. And it's about the other side. How are the friends and family of John O'Keefe handling the verdict? It was obvious to me what they believed happened here. They believed Karen Reed was responsible. So how are friends and family handling this not guilty verdict? To help us answer that, I'd like to bring in John Jackson.
Is he related?
He is a close friend of John O'Keefe. They were good friends since college.
Oh shoot, we need to watch Proctor's interview.
I can understand this can't be easy, but I need you to help us understand what it's like from the other side. That story hasn't been told enough. How are you personally handling what transpired and the verdict in this case?
That's the lead-in. That's the lead-in to this. That's the footage of the lead-in to this. That's Vinny. We saw you out there. We saw you with the pink tie. We saw you just bathing in the sea pink.
Slow down.
Yeah.
Didn't wear a pink tie, John.
Wait.
Didn't wear a pink tie,
John.
You
hold it up.
Hold on. Oh, so there's beef for it. We're gonna have to watch this. So there's beef.
I can understand this can't be easy, but I need you to help us understand what it's like from the other side. That story hasn't been told enough. How are you personally?
Anyways, Allie, I am so disappointed that you did not put me on Tory Lanez a long time ago, okay? Because yesterday I was listening. When I said smoke, that's what it reminded me of. Yesterday, I was listening to the same song today too. I was listening to Who Wants Smoke by Nardowick, because those insurance people have me messed up, okay? So I'm getting myself ready to fight. Anyways, I listened to that one song, Who Wants Smoke by Nardowick, and for some reason, after that one song, Apple Music started playing songs that are almost similar to that song. And I've probably only ever listened to one Tory Lanez song. After that song, not Alexa, what's her name? Siri or whoever runs Apple Music. She played Broke in a Minute by Tory Lanez. And I did not even know that was Tory Lanez. Like literally, I was just listening. The song came on and I was like, okay, I actually like this beat. It turned out it was Tory Lanez. So I'm upset that nobody put me on Tory Lanez prior to yesterday, okay?
handling what transpired and the verdict in this case?
That's the lead-in. That's the lead-in to this. That's the footage of the lead-in to this. That's Vinny. We saw you out there. We saw you with the pink tie. We saw you just bathing in the.
Oh, when they said we saw you out there, he was nodding. Yeah, you saw me. Little did he know.
Oh, slow down.
Yeah.
Didn't wear a pink tie, John. Didn't wear a pink tie,
So
John.
you hold it up. You held it up, right?
No, I
You
didn't. I held up a red tie, John. If you've watched me, if you've watched my career,
so
I don't know. Did he watch a red tie? Was he wearing a red tie or was it a pink tie? Somebody tell me.
every verdict I wear a red tie. So
Your
I switched
career
from
is
the
interesting.
purple. From the purple.
The career is interesting.
Okay, this is the way it's going to go. Let's
go. The career
go.
is fantastic. The career is fantastic. Look, up until this case, we all watched you. We all did.
Okay, what
we all watched. You know, any case that had any kind of interest to us, we watched. But I just watched that interview with that juror. Well, I was here to talk about something completely different, and it's unfortunate because.
Okay, let's talk about whatever you want to talk about, John. I'll give you an opportunity. It's not a problem.
I can't believe what I just heard from that.
Okay, so Vinny actually never looked him up. Apparently, his name is Vincent, which makes sense. Like Vincent, that's an adult's name. Okay, so he's a former prosecutor. Okay. All right, so I guess he has some experience in the courtroom.
Just watch the shows.
Actually, maybe this is obvious, but I don't watch court TV.
So I can't believe what I just heard that juror say.
Juror say
so many things. I mean, I just went over it. I couldn't believe what I was listening to. It believes the dog bite theory, but they didn't really present it at trial. Those are her words. Barros. She talked about Officer Barros. She apparently missed the cross-examination, although she did hat tip to Mr. Hank Brennan for his cross-examinations. But hey, look, I'd love to talk about Johnny.
John, let me give you an opportunity. You could talk about whatever you want. As a guest on this show, you can talk about whatever you want right now. You've got the microphone. We've got the camera. You have a question for me. If you want to talk about the juror, the way she saw the case, that's fine. You've answered my question that I have already. I sense that you are absolutely livid. You're unhappy. Right. There's a sense of anger. So my question's answered.
Yeah.
I'll give you an opportunity to talk about whatever you want to talk about.
So he's livid for sure. I guess we need to go back to the juror he's talking about. Is that juror number 11?
So let me just run through it. Okay, it's been a couple days. So the first.
I don't know. I guess we have to shift Kohlberger to next week. I'm really tired. I'm tired of this thing. I'm tired of this case. I'm really tired of this case. But I'm also really nosy.
A couple of days. You know, obviously we were all together when the verdict came out, and it was rough, man. It was. You know, you sat through the whole case, and you watched everything come and go, all the evidence come and go, and look. To us, the prosecution put on a good case, and to us, that data from her car and from Johnny's cell phone told the whole story, right? So we're not hearing too much about that right now from these jurors. I'm a little surprised. Look, I came out that night. I said, look, we respect the jury's decision. I mean, that's how it is, and it's okay. That's the process.
Okay.
I'm. To be honest, I'm stunned at what I just saw. I mean, that's kind of where I'm at. I wasn't really there until I just saw that interview.
And I've said, I don't know what interview you watch, but I need to watch it because you're baffled. I don't want to be as baffled as you, but I want to know what you heard, or I want to hear what you heard. And here's the thing, and I still stick by Hank Brennan being a brilliant prosecutor. There's no question about that. I know Real Thing disagrees with me. I know Jason definitely disagrees with me. Jason disagrees with me. But Hank Brennan put on a hell of a show, okay? And there are a number of factors that come into play, or that came into play in this case, as is the case with all other cases, okay? For example, if we have to talk about a recent decision, let's talk about Tyree Nichols for a little bit, okay? The Tyree Nichols case out of Tennessee. In that case, the officers that were charged with, his murder, they were convicted at the federal level. But at the state level, there was a venue change. The defense thought that they could not get a fair verdict in the jurisdiction, or the defendant would not have a fair trial in the actual jurisdiction where the death took place. So they took the case out in the mountains, okay? And when that verdict was reached, okay? So the officers in that case at the state level, they were acquitted of all the charges. And here's the thing. Under those circumstances, anybody that has watched the actual body-worn camera of the last moments of that man's life, and anybody that has followed the prosecution's presentation of the case, they cannot argue that the prosecutors did not put on a good case. They cannot argue that prosecutors are not good, or that they were slacking, or that they're not good prosecutors. And the same, to me, the same applies to Hank Brennan. The verdict does not, to me, dictate whether an attorney is a good attorney or a bad attorney. I mean, sometimes attorneys do mess up cases, okay? But I would not say that that is the Karen Reed case. Because I've seen some comparisons. I've not actually read the post because I really have Karen Reed fatigue, okay? But I've seen, I saw a Reddit post where somebody said that, how could Lolly have outperformed Hank Brennan? That is not true. I do not believe that to be true. But I mean, the verdict is the verdict. There's no way around that. And that does not mean that Lolly is a better prosecutor than Hank Brennan. If we go back to the issue of Alan Jackson's improper conduct or improper communications with the ARCA expert, okay? If we go back to the arguments that were advanced between the prosecution and the defense, Hank Brennan put on a heck of a presentation. The defense, listen, Alan Jackson's conduct was inexcusable. There's no reason for him to have acted the way that he acted, okay? It was improper. But that said, even before Bev Canoni rendered her decision, I told you guys that it's going to come in. ARCA is going to have to get on the stand. And the reason for that is because Karen Reed is a criminal defendant. There was no way around it. So if we go back to the argument of whether somebody's a good attorney or not, and if we're tying that to the outcome or a decision, again, Hank Brennan definitely put on a good argument when it came to the exclusion of ARCA. It does not matter that his argument was good. The only thing that was really at play there was whether Karen Reed was being deprived of a defense or not. And okay, let's move on. You guys know I can talk and talk and talk. Let's move on. Otherwise, we're not going to get through this interview.
And it kind of put me there. It is literally like.
Okay, so Callie said, why is he angry with Vinny, though? Apart from confusing the color of the tie. He probably just came in hot, and maybe he is of the opinion that Vinny's a Karen Reed supporter, or maybe he's upset with the fact that Core TV gave the other side a platform. I don't actually really know. I'm just speculating, but he's hot, and then maybe his anger is just misplaced, right?
Like the social media side of this, and the blogging side of this, and the law tuber side of this just came out of that juror's mouth. I'm actually stunned. I was calm. I wasn't here, but I can't
I need to watch this interview.
believe I just heard it. It kind of put me in a position, and I'm sorry, didn't mean to start off that way. And then to
Hey,
watch
John,
the video.
your emotions are real. You're entitled to your emotions.
Of course they are.
This is an incredible loss. And I've seen cases of not guilties before. I know it can be crushing. I know it can create anger. And I just want to hear it. I want to hear your side of this. So hearing what we heard from juror number 11 tonight and the way things went down, where do you point blame anywhere for why this result came out, a result that you don't believe in at all?
Yeah, so obviously, there's a couple places we'd like to put some blame, but let me start off again. We respect the process, right? If the process is fair, if there's no fingers on the scale, we respect the process.
Okay.
And the jurors spoke, so that's it, right? I mean, we understand that's it. But what we don't appreciate is the narrative that got away from us pretty early was a false narrative. Trial 1, trial 2, both of them, and the popularity of the movement grew, and as the movement grew, it drew in more and more media types, traditional media, new media, drew them all in, and they went and chased the clicks, and they chased the likes, and they chased.
Yeah, and I mean, it was, and that's why I've always brought up the pretrial publicity. Alan Jackson's not stupid, okay? Maybe he did one stupid thing that I know of, but he's not exactly stupid. Him putting Karen Reed in front of those cameras served a specific purpose, and I guess they've really achieved that purpose.
Chase the popularity, which is fine. That's what they do. But what we feel is that at some point, I mean, look outside that courthouse, right? The family heard the cheers. Brother, friend, son. They heard the cheers, and it was devastating, right? So the media needs to take responsibility for their.
I see what you're saying, Callie. I guess we'll have to watch. We have to come back with Karen Reed again on Thursday. So we're gonna have to watch juror number 11's interview then to figure out exactly what it is that she said.
Part in this. I'm not saying it was totally there, but for their part in this, for allowing themselves to choose sides, for allowing themselves to be part of the fuel for that fire that caught and wound up outside of that courthouse. So yeah, some of the blame goes there. Go
ahead. No, continue. I don't want to cut you off. I thought you were done. Continue.
Look, so the problem is for us too. We've lived this for 3.5 years, and we've every piece of evidence that came in, both sides. We can be objective about it and say when things went poorly for us and when things went well for us, and it just even when things went well for us. Again, juror 11 here. Look, Mr. Hank Brennan, Adam Lally, Attorney McLaughlin. They put on a good case, and it's unfortunate because I'm looking now. This doesn't look like it ever had a chance. It doesn't. A couple of other jurors have spoken to, and I wasn't going to go there with this, but that I can't even. I'm literally raw emotion.
Okay, let's see. What are the? I don't know that we're gonna get anything from these comments. Okay, so apparently he not watched the same trial that everybody else watched. All right. Apparently his anger is misdirected.
Coming out here, so that's not where I wanted to go tonight. I wanted to be calm and talk about Johnny and the pain that this family is definitely experiencing.
So. Yeah, and we've heard from other jurors that are speaking. Do you at all look at the investigation itself, the way things were handled that night? Sure. I know there was a nor'easter coming in. I know that is difficult, but it's Massachusetts, not securing the scene, other things that were pointed out to the jury, because they kept saying to me not just this juror, but other jurors, holes in the investigation. There were holes in the investigation.
Sure. I can address that. Sure. So again, me personally, I'm not speaking for anybody else here, but I will say that, the investigation found the right person. My personal opinion is that maybe, especially with a police officer involved, maybe a little more follow through, dotting the I's, crossing the T's. And I'm being, I'm softening it a little bit, but am I happy with the investigation? No. But did they come up with the right person? Yes. Right. So the evidence in this case points to one person, or one person only. And we've followed the social media, we've followed the online stuff and all the other media. And it, the reality is the wrong narrative still exists. The wrong narrative is still out there. That they're talking about third-party culprits, and it's all nonsense. One person did this. We know it. We've known it since the beginning. And you want to talk about the investigation? I understand. Look, beyond a reasonable doubt is the standard. We get it. And we can have an honest conversation about whether or not, beyond a reasonable doubt, the threshold was met here. I believe it was. But if you want to talk about specifically maybe the collision, whether or not a collision happened, I mean, you can have that argument. I think a totality of the evidence shows, it happened. But if you want to have like an honest conversation about whether that happened and whether they proved it or not, I think they did. If a juror came out and said, look, I just don't believe in a collision, fine. But when they come out and they say things like, it wasn't 100%, instead of, if it was 99, then you can't convict. I mean, not understanding reasonable doubt, totality of the evidence, not understanding that their job. I mean, they say they understood their job, but they didn't get it. Or at least that one, I should say.
Right.
So yeah, again, investigation found the right person. I would have liked a little more follow through, but maybe things will change because of this case, right? You would hope that
No, they better retrain.
when investigations happen now, they would have to sort of foresee that maybe a wealthy defendant would be able to purchase the circus,
Wow.
So that's how I see it.
He said maybe a wealthy defendant could purchase the circus. I guess it's not even that he's alluding. He's basically telling us that Karen Reed bought herself a defense. And that's why I'm saying Diddy has money. I don't know why he did not put somebody up there. I just, it doesn't make sense to me. It doesn't make sense to me.
So yeah, if you want to have an honest discussion about reasonable doubt, I could probably get on board with that. But the other stuff, she said, this last juror talked about the dog bites. Barrows, she never listened to Hank Brennan's. I mean, Aperture was unprofessional. I mean, look, you say what you want, but you can go after the individual if you want. But Shannon Burgess, he found the chip that put the data that put her car there. She was the one who drove the car forward 30 and change feet, and then reversed and another 50 feet at a high rate of speed. Even that juror said, she said it. She says she doesn't know what, maybe she hit him, but then he went in the house after with his socks on. I mean, oh my God.
We need
he didn't have a shot. There was never a shot here. And so the emotions you hear now is I'm transitioning away from the grief and the disbelief. We're pragmatic about it. We understood that this could happen, but this is not what we expected. We expected a more deliberate jury, I guess, would be the best way to say it.
John, and there are commercials and there are segments in a show.
Sure.
But
sure.
I want to extend this segment and give you an opportunity again. Is there any other area that you would want people to know about tonight? Because I think your voice is an important voice in all of this.
Is he the
Sure.
only
If
one
you
that
want me
comes
to
up?
stick around, or you want me to just do this now?
No, we're pushing the commercial. We're pushing it, so we're giving
I
you
didn't
a little
understand.
extra time
It's
here.
not
I'm sorry
my
for the
jam. This is
confusion.
your thing, So yeah, no. Look, let's just talk about the family for a moment, okay? Let's just talk about Johnny's family. They've been through a tremendous, and you hear it. You hear people say justice for John O'Keefe. The reality is, we knew guilty or not, that Johnny's never coming home, right?
Okay.
He's just not coming home. The pain, the damage was already done. He's never coming back. And that pain's never going to change. You know, the O'Keefes, obviously, most know the story now about his Johnny's older sister passing and his brother-in-law and how he took in the kids. And you know, that is heroic stuff. That's not run-of-the-mill stuff. That's stuff that when the moment arises and you feel like, oh, you know, I'd be that guy. I would be that guy. I don't know. You hope you would. But he was that guy. And he was that guy for everybody. That wasn't just his niece and nephew, who he loved and cherished more than anything. That's who he was to all of us. That was who he was to people he didn't know. He was a helper. He was a giver. He was charitable. He was an amazing man. And the O'Keefes need to be left alone to grieve now.
Okay.
Right? We're going to put a period at the end of this chapter. We're going to move on. The O'Keefes need to grieve. So anybody who's online still talking, you know, still, oh, peg this, peg that. First of all, it's Mrs. O'Keefe to us.
Whoop.
Okay.
You don't have control.
Stop talking about them. Stop looking. You know, people invested their lives in the last 30 plus days or even 3 years or so in this, and they're zeroing in on people on the family side of that bench, and they would constantly go on social media, point things out, and say terrible things. This is a grieving family. It's unacceptable. And we know in the first trial, walking in that door, everybody screamed and yelled, cop killers, cop killers. It was unbelievable. And then they learned, you know, it's bad PR, so we're going to stop that now. And they did.
What they used to, I don't know.
And they did, but they didn't stop online. And I won't say the names, but, you know, the niece and nephew that Johnny took in, they're incredible, incredible kids. But the kids, they're on social media. You can't stop that. And they see it. And they see the pain of the family, of their grandparents. So when you consider saying something about the O'Keefes, well, Paul, leave Paul alone. It's time to leave him alone. He deserves to grieve. We understand the verdict is in. You know, she's free to do whatever she wants in this life, right? But that pain is not going to stop for that family or for the friends or for any of us. And the world is going to miss out on a tremendous individual. And it doesn't change the fact that we know who did it, right? We know who did it. Just didn't get the guilty. Wasn't beyond a reasonable doubt in this jury's eyes. It's unfortunate. And anyway, I appreciate you let me say that.
Yeah. Well, John, I appreciate you coming on. It's not easy. And what you said, everyone heard. And I think that's important. And I'm sorry for your loss of your good friend and for going through all this and all the pain. John Jackson, thank you so much for joining us tonight.
Is that it?
Really appreciate it. Appreciate it.
Okay.
What time is it?
When we come back, more of our investigation. Don't go anywhere. The brutal murders of 4 university detectives. This trial, college
trial today.
Let the community feel through your verdict that justice cannot be bent and that it will not be buried. Find Karen Reed not guilty, not guilty, not guilty.
It's Alan Jackson asking for 3 not guilties, and pretty much what he got. Pretty much what he got in the case. Okay. Again, we thank John Jackson for coming on and showing us how the other side has reacted to all this and their thoughts and feelings tonight. I thought that was important. I thought it was powerful. And he mentioned something that I want to talk about now. You know, in an interview with TMZ, that juror that he was speaking about, identified only by his first name, Jason, explained how he viewed this concept, which is the backbone of our system of criminal justice, this concept of reasonable doubt.
I don't know what happened to John. I think it was just due to the poor investigation. There's just too many holes
is there an angle of reasonable doubt to where we're not really sure? Like, are you really sure? Are you 100% or are you 99.9%? You know, if you're that 99%, you know, we can't convict you.
Did you hear that? And that's what John was talking about. 99% cannot convict you. You need to be 100% to erase, if you're 100% sure, to erase all the reasonable doubt. And that brings me to the next question in our investigations. In light of that, did prosecutors stand a chance here in this case?
Listen, there's no way around Michael Proctor. That's my position. That has always been my position. There's just no way around Michael Proctor. Michael Proctor's conduct, not even that. Here's the thing. The police investigation likely would have been excusable, you know, putting evidence into cups and paper bags and all types of things. That possibly would have been excused, but for Michael Proctor's attitude towards Karen Reed, the text messages, the I don't know, what did they call a balloon knot, weird Fall River accent, all those other things, there's just no way. There was no way around it. No way around Michael Proctor.
If you've got to prove the case 100%, that 99% is still leaves reasonable doubt. Here to help answer that question, criminal defense attorney Bob Mata, also the host of the Defense Diaries podcast, which is amazing. Also with us, longtime Massachusetts attorney Rick Grundy. All right, Rick, I'm going to start with you on this one. As a former homicide prosecutor in Norfolk County, did prosecutors stand a chance with this juror if it's got to be 100%, that 99.9% still leaves reasonable doubt?
And another juror didn't catch in the instructions that when something's objected to, you don't take it into consideration, such as the garage. I want to say first, Vinny, just that to Mr. Jackson, I appreciated hearing from him very much, and I thought he'd bring
and anyone who's friends with us support cop killers.
Yeah. Wait, what? What is this? What did
and the truth still bitterly contested.
What is this?
Like I said, other people were impacted by all this, particularly two families. You know, the Alberts and the McCabe's did an interview with ABC's Nightline, and they talked about how they've been treated.
Have each of you been called murderers? Like actual murderers?
Oh, yeah, on a daily basis.
Anybody who's touched this case has been called a murderer at some point.
And anyone who's friends with us support cop killers.
Yeah.
And that brings us to the next question in our investigation, and it's about these two families. Were the Alberts and McCabe's treated fairly? Let's bring in our guest going to help us answer this question. John DePietro, host and creator of Road Patrol Live, and attorney Ali Crofhamel. Great to have you both here. John, from your perspective, what do you think about the Alberts and the McCabe's? Were they treated fairly throughout all this?
Hey, first of all, I want to say that was really powerful interview with John Jackson. I know John. This is really incredible how much he was impacted by it. You saw outside the courthouse, you saw when I walked out and what the reaction was. And when you think about it, that's just because I believe the case that the Commonwealth put on. I don't have these crazy ideas of conspiracy, and you saw the reaction. So the answer to this is a very, very dangerous atmosphere right now that is being perpetrated we need the search for the real killers. There was an investigation on this. The Alberts, the McCabe's were friends with John O'Keefe. These people did nothing wrong. Now, since the verdict, Vinny, their lives have been turned upside down just the past 2 days. And some people are not going to be happy until something very dramatic happens. The other night at the courthouse, Hank Brennan wanted to walk down the front steps. I talked to the troopers. They told him not to because they didn't feel they had enough police for the crowd. There's something wrong with that. There was something wrong that people were cheering that someone was found guilty on an OUI. This case is upside down. But as far as the McCabe's and the Alberts, they were targeted early. This was a concerted effort to make their life hell, as they talked about. They're now starting to talk about it. But this is a classic example, as they talked about, of witness intimidation, dehumanize, attack.
All right, let us move on. I think there was another interview. Hold on. Wasn't there another interview? Maybe it was this one.
So tell me about your feeling when you found out that you were going to be on the jury, when you went to your voir dire in jury selection and they picked you to be on this jury. How did you feel?
When I was in the room, when I received the letter, I actually liked the idea because I'd never been a juror before. I wanted to know how the process is. For me, it was like a 1-2 day thing. It's going to be fun to do it. When the judge said, oh, it's going to take 8 weeks, I was like, wow, I hope I'm not selected. And once I was selected, I had to run. All I could think was the logistics of everything.
Okay.
So I just want to run home and make phone calls to arrange everything. But I was excited. I was happy to be part of the process. I had no clue it was that big. It was a mediatic case. I had no clue to get a lot of attention. But I did like the idea of being part of something that big and important.
Can you tell me what you knew about the case? Of course, the understanding is that you don't have to be ignorant of the case. You just have to not have an opinion formed, right? And be open-minded and evaluate the evidence in the courtroom. So what did you know about the Karen Reed case before you started hearing evidence?
I know she had a billboard on Route 1 every time I go grocery.
So this confirms everything. This confirms everything that I suspected about confirms everything I suspected about the jurors.
Shop, I see free Karen Reed. That's all I know.
Yeah, that does confirm a lot for me
about her and her name. I also saw some lounge that has signs free Karen Reed, but didn't strike me to go search and understand what it was. So I had no clue what crime or what she did, who she was, who John was, nothing. I really didn't know. And I never heard about those supporters.
I have about 5 minutes and then I need to go.
The big crowd she has. Let's
quickly see what's on Reddit because I've been avoiding all this stuff. So let's go to Reddit. Let's go to Reddit Court TV. Dang, somebody's fighting. I'm getting distracted. I need to. Ooh, hold on. I'm gonna watch this later on. Anyways, let us find Court TV. All right, they're talking about somebody in Florida. Oh yeah, the missing boyfriend murder trial. I see they've been streaming that all day today. Did not quite get into it, but I wanted to. I just did not have time. There's still a lot going on about. There's a lot going on about this Karen Reed trial. They're still posting. Let's see. They're still posting. All right, let us move on. We have Monica on here. All right, so somebody from a day ago. This is what? No tier 2591. They say still can't accept that Karen Reed didn't do it. Follow the investigation. What investigation? You mean you follow the trial of lies, a deceit. Apparently, full statement from John O'Keefe and Karen Reed retrial, prosecutor Hank Brennan. I'm reading this. I don't know that this is actually what Hank Brennan said, but this is what's on Court TV, okay? So this is apparently what Hank said. I'm disappointed in the verdict and the fact that we could not achieve justice for John O'Keefe and his family. District Attorney Michael Marisi appointed me, giving me full discretion to independently assess the case and follow the evidence no matter where it led. After an independent and thorough review of all the evidence, I concluded that the evidence led to one person and only one person. Neither the closed federal investigation nor my independent review led me to identify any other possible suspect or person responsible for the death of John O'Keefe. The campaign of intimidation and abuse that has been waged, funded, and promoted in public and on social media is the antithesis of justice. And that's also why, no, read and then say what you think. So if this type of conduct becomes commonplace, it will threaten the integrity of our judicial system, affecting both victims and criminally accused. We cannot condone witness abuse, causing participants to worry for their own safety or that of their families. It is my hope that with a verdict, the witnesses and their families will be left alone. The harassment of these innocent victims and family members is deplorable and should never happen again in a case in this Commonwealth. My heartfelt condolences to the O'Keefe family and faith that over the coming years they will find peace and closure. Okay. And then they go on to comment, he's doing that. He's doing what he's accusing others of doing. How is he still ganging up on the person who was found not guilty? Anyways, let's move on. We're not going to read all these comments. Here's what I should have said what I wanted to say because now it escaped me. Hold on. It escaped me. So I should have I should have said what I wanted to say when I actually had it on the tip of my tongue because now I forgot. Hold on, close. I don't know. My phone's. No, I cannot get out of this. Hold on. Trying to move on to the next post. I just need to start over. I could put this. What is this? That's core TV stuff up here, but I don't want to inadvertently disclose information that I don't know what's on my desktop, so I'm not going to risk that. Let's see. Somebody tested something. 2 days ago, AC Thatcher said Karen was so lucky the CW went with a theory they did. What do you mean by that? I had this thought this morning. Probably everyone else has already thought this, but Karen is so incredibly lucky. The Commonwealth was so dumb. I feel very confident she would have been found guilty had they gone with she reversed. He jumped out of the way and hit his head. That essentially explains all the evidence, leaving no room for argument without eyewitness testimony. But the Commonwealth going with such an outlandish theory saved her. I don't know about that one because if he's jumping out of the way, then how do you explain the marks on his arm? I don't know about that one. This is somebody else that solved. This is somebody else that solved a crime that I did not even know. Alexa, stop. Alexa, stop. Okay, so somebody commented on this post and said, well, when you frame someone for murder, you don't have the option of toning it down. You kind of commit yourself, and their guilt is what kept them from minimizing it. Go big or go home. That is what lies get you not guilty. They said pretty much. So they're saying that somebody framed somebody. Let's see. They said medical examiner evidence. I think they're still talking about Karen Reed. Medical examiner evidence. Evidence has been revealed that John's body was moved to the lawn after the. I don't know about that. I'm not even going to read that. Okay, so here's here's a post we can all agree on. Anybody else happy the Karen Reed trial is over? People are tired. I don't know. Well, let me see. Okay, I think most of the focus is on Kohlberger, but people are glad this thing is over. People are glad. I'm really tired of this trial. Yeah, Thursday we're not doing Karen Reed. I'm done with Karen Reed. I'm gonna move on. Okay, 3 days ago, KR not guilty. It's done. Why are people still talking about this case? It's done and dusted. Move on. A man died and blah blah blah. Okay, I'll leave that alone. Okay. All right, let's get into some interesting stuff. I have like 2 minutes. It's actually past my bedtime. I have 2 minutes and then I need to go. On what basis has John's family always believed Karen Reed is the killer? Why don't the many revelations by the defense about the investigation and the Alberts make them question the credibility of the police or the Alberts account? Is their belief that Karen Reed did it based more on personality issues or some kind of standing ongoing family feud? I'm not a Karen Reed groupie, just trying to use logic. If I were John's family, who not unsurprisingly put their trust on the police regarding what occurred that night, and then came to court and heard testimony about strange behavior by the people living at the property where the body was found, I'll begin to question the veracity of what I had been made to believe, right? Apparently, they want people to substantiate their beliefs. Okay, so Fluffy Cat 16 says, I'm of the belief that John's family didn't like Karen even before all of this happened. Thinking of the Hawaii trip specifically, this is a case of confirmation. I'm moving on from that. Alexa, stop. Oh shoot, I'm supposed to go get my stuff out of the dryer. Hold on. All right, somebody watch an interview of the Alberts and McCabe's. I'm not watching any of that stuff. Blah, 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 blah. Anyways, I'm just glad this trial is over. All right, I'm moving on from this trial. Let's see. Allie saying, oh, yeah, I was watching a trial today. I watched the same trial. Okay, so anyways, I got too excited. Oh yeah, I was watching a trial in McBurney's courtroom, and Abate's the DA. And let me tell you, he has not changed a bit, and he still needs to learn to use the microphone. Yeah, I watched a little bit of that trial. I don't remember the last name, but it's somebody that's charged with serious stuff, okay? He's charged with serious stuff, involved murder. I did not watch everything because I had to get up, and I was up and down, okay? I was working. But my understanding is he shot somebody at a bus stop or at the transportation hub. That's what it sounded like. I left off where they had, I think it was an officer that testified, and they were looking through a house or something. I don't know what the house had to do with anything. Maybe they recovered a weapon. I don't know. And yeah, I watched part of it. There was really nothing. Maybe if I actually sat down and followed the entire trial, I would have figured out exactly what was going on, but I was working. Yeah, I watched part of it today. I don't actually know what trial I'm going to. I have to figure out because we're gonna get into Brian Kohlberger. That's probably, oh, never mind. Allie, did you send me the stuff? I was gonna say that's probably my last trial for the year, but we could, Alexa, stop. But we could potentially get, I know you said you're gonna send me the Lil Durk stuff. Lil Durk has a special place in my heart. It breaks my heart, but we'll get into it. And maybe we can get into the YNW Melly stuff. Other than that, I don't really see anything else that's going on. What's Alice saying? I listened to most of it while I was working today. I want to go back and listen to the rest of today's trial. I really like McBurney as a judge and his style and how he treats everyone. Oh, yeah, I completely agree. Again, I've said it before. McBurney is probably, with the exception of one judge that I actually really practiced in front of, McBurney's a close second. He's really good at his job. The only thing though that I find problematic about McBurney, which is problematic within myself, is that usually when I hear that people have a bunch of kids, I'm like, those are a lot of kids. Those are a lot of kids. And I've heard McBurney say it a number of times when a defendant is before him, and it's usually during these the plea colloquies. So oftentimes he asks about how many kids they have, things along those lines. I mean, it's relevant information, but oftentimes it's somebody that has 20 children by 4 different women, and he's like, those are a lot of kids. So that's probably my one criticism of McBurney, but that's a criticism I have of myself too, because oftentimes when I hear the people have more than 2 kids, I'm like, those are a lot of kids. Okay. Those are a lot of kids. But other than that, there was a time, I don't remember, probably 2 or 3 months ago, a man was entering a guilty plea. He also had a bunch of kids. Okay. He had a bunch of kids, and Judge McBurney had a wrong assumption. He assumed that the man had kids by a number of kids. Listen, by a number of women. Listen, if you're trying to have kids by a number of people, that's your business. All right. But he corrected himself because he incorrectly assumed that he had kids with a bunch of women when that was not the case. It turns out he has kids with one woman. He just has a lot of kids. Like, he just had a lot of kids. So yeah, that is my one criticism of McBurney. But other than that, McBurney, he's perfectly fine by me. He's perfectly fine by me. All right. So I suppose I'll be watching tomorrow. Let me see. What am I doing tomorrow? I have a lot of things to get done. But if I do have time, I'm going to watch the McBurney trial, and then we'll take it from there. So let us reconvene on Thursday, folks. Listen, this weekend I definitely need to put content out. If I don't put content out this weekend, then you guys can just, nothing's ever going to come. Okay. And I don't want to be that person, because I do actually have a lot of great ideas. Some of the videos I've recorded, I just do not have time to edit. When I got home today, my daughter and I went to a gas station. When I picked her up, we went to a gas station, bought things we had no business buying. I mean, we only bought, like, she really has no business drinking soda. But I got a soda, we got some hot Cheetos, and then we came home. And when I came home, my plan was, girl, take a shower and edit some videos. But I sat on the couch, it always gets you. I sat on the couch for a little bit, and I was chit-chatting with one of my former colleagues. He needed help with not jury questions, but he needed cross-examination questions for an expert, because he works for the state. We worked together at Legal Aid once upon a time, but he lives in a completely different state. Okay. But he works for the state. He works for the state. That's it. Okay. He needed help though with he needed help with some cross-examination questions. And he talked about how he only had, I don't know, 2 days to prepare, something to do with an appeal. And today he was going over the opposing side's expert's resume. Apparently it's a 40-page resume, and this expert graduated from Harvard. So he has his work cut out for him. He has his work cut out for him. So I talked to him for a little bit, and I got in the shower. By the time I made dinner, I was gossiping. I was really gossiping. I was on the phone, like, gossiping with my man for an hour. He just gets to listen to my gossip. So that was that. Time just went by so quickly, but I'll do better. I'll do better. All right. Benji said, have a nice day, everyone. Benji, you enjoy the rest of your shift, okay? Allie says, I'll be listening to the trial in McBurney's court now that I started listening to the trial that I'm with you. I think we do have to see it to the end, okay? Allie said, you as well, Benji. Allie said, friends, like, subscribe, and share, okay? All right, folks. So let's get going. Let's get going. And I am going to bring a bit of, comic relief. You guys know I laugh. Often I really laugh inappropriately. Sometimes I'm just laughing for no reason, but I just cannot help myself. So I'm going to bring a lot of that silliness on here in the form of shorts. Okay. If you're tired of me laughing, you're about to be sick of me. All right. Because I have a whole bunch of nonsense. In any event, we will reconvene on Thursday. Thursday, we're moving on to Brian Kohlberger. So Benji, the good thing about Brian Kohlberger is the fact that he's not gone to trial yet. Okay, so it's a clean slate. It's not like the Karen Reed trial where you're trying to figure out the first part of the trial and the second part of the trial, even though you really don't have to, because in essence, two different trials. But the Brian Kohlberger case definitely, again, I just remember waking up one day and it was news that 4 kids in Idaho, college kids, were murdered. And then, I don't know, a month or so later on, you find out that a PhD, actually a criminology PhD candidate, is charged with their crimes, and he was arrested in Pennsylvania. So it's an intriguing trial. I don't know that the defense, I don't know that Brian Kohlberger stands a chance. Okay. Oftentimes, when somebody is charged with a crime of that nature, people are going to want justice, and you're going to go down whether you've done it or not. So that is part of my concern. Usually cases of that nature I'm a little wary of, just because the likelihood of somebody being convicted under those circumstances very high. Even if you look at the Gilgo Beach, I actually don't know when is that trial. There was a lot of buzz about that case about actually around the same time of the Kohlberger arrest, but that case has just died down. If we look at that Gilgo Beach case, that's also one of those cases where whether it's actually you or it's somebody else, the chances of you being convicted at trial very high, because people want answers and people want justice. So that's that. Okay, so Allie's gonna send me the documents. Hopefully she actually does. But if she doesn't, I'm not gonna hold it against her. All right, folks, let us reconvene on Thursday, 8:30 p.m. Eastern time. And then we're gonna hop into Brian Kohlberger. There's some stuff going on. We're also gonna cover a case out of Texas that I came across today. Don't remember the name of the defendant. Don't know if I wrote the defendant's name down. Let me see if I did. You guys know I love talking. I need to go. I need to let you guys go. But let me quickly see if I wrote the defendant's name down. Hold on. I believe it is Jeremy Fancher. There's a disturbing case out of Texas. It's very disturbing, okay? Very, very disturbing stuff. Yeah, but his name is Jeremy. I think so. Let me just look him up now. Jeremy Fancher. Yeah, yep. Okay, so this is from 2 days ago, but some pretty disturbing stuff coming out of there. Callie says the moment I heard Brian was oh my goodness, Callie. Callie has no filter. She said the moment she heard that Brian was a criminology PhD candidate, she was suspicious of him. I don't know. Again, a perfect crime is very hard to come by, but let us definitely dig deeper into Brian Kohlberger. But we also have to take a closer look at his defense, because the latest addition, I need to learn these people's names. I never know these people's names. But the latest addition to his defense team, I just know what she looks like. I don't know her name. She is supposed to be very excellent at capital defense cases. I mean, some of the pretrial motion, she was a little whiny. You guys know I don't like whiny attorneys. Yeah, she appeared to be a little whiny, but she does actually appear to have a very impressive resume. So we're going to have to take a deeper dive into that. All right, folks. Allie, Callie, Benji, thank you for tuning in. I really need to go because you guys know I can talk and talk and talk. I need to get going. I need to iron my clothes. I need to get ready for work, and I need to clean up the kitchen. Okay. Had I actually stopped this live on time, I probably could have edited at least one video, but I just cannot stop talking. Anyways, thank you guys for the support. Let us reconvene on Thursday, and we will take it from there. You guys have, I know Callie's on vacation, so you enjoy your time. Allie, enjoy working. I'll be looking forward to those emails. Benji, keep on grinding, my dear. Keep on grinding. And shout out to your girlfriend, all right? Okay, folks, I'm definitely gone. I'm gone. All right, signing out.